Welcome everyone to iMagination's Astrological Lunar Magic series. We have for this week of February 19th, 2021, a first quarter moon in Gemini. But before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land of which this video is being recorded on. So let's touch base after that. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge that together we live, work, and play on this land of the people of traditional Treaty 7 territory. The Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kenai, Piikani. The Tsuut'ina Nations, Iarhe Nakoda, and Region 3 Métis Nation of Alberta. Hello everyone, welcome to this Gemini first quarter moon. We're going to talk about all of the lunar aspects transiting for today. Hopefully you can't hear any ticking in the background. I am cooking some stock, so hopefully that will be heard. But moving on, we'll go to our wheel. So here's the wheel for the transits of the day. We can see in the bottom left quadrant the moon is in Gemini and all of the aspects spreading out from there. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to look at the moon in Gemini, and then we're going to talk first about the trine to the top right quadrant with the Mercury retrograde, Saturn in Aquarius, as well as Pluto in Capricorn. So let's head over to our table, which is having a moment. I'll eventually get this figured out. So we're going to use a new deck of tarot cards today. And one moment. So this new, well, not new, but this deck is the Wild Unknown tarot deck. And I thought it'd be fun to switch up the imagery for our session. So we have the High Priestess, which is this beautiful white tigress. And we have the Lover's card, which is the Gemini portion. Okay, so hopefully that will be fine. But we have our High Priestess tigress in the Gemini energy of the Canadian geese. So let's just have a consideration on this first. We have this beautiful tigress. She sits with the moon behind her, the planet in between her lap or her front paws. And it's really kind of a guardian energy, a guardian to this more mystical component, more of that hidden, seek it by night, seek it through the darkness, the wisdom kind of thing. A creature that is majestic, is beautiful, yet is also extremely powerful and capable of doing great damage, is represented as the High Priestess here, or the Moon card. We have the Lover's energy, which is Gemini, in this beautiful radiance of Canadian geese. Maybe it's different types of geese elsewhere, but where I'm from, they're called Canada geese, so I don't know. But what I really get from this energy, from the cards, is particularly that geese sort of have this innate knowing of when to get up and go, and when to go in a new direction. They have like this homing beacon of making choices of when to take flight and when to stay, which is very interesting energy. Hopefully my exposure will stay, but anyway, this is the moon energy. Now the trine is with our retrograding Mercury, which is represented by the Magician card, the Saturn, which is represented by the World, in Aquarius, but also close enough to Pluto, which is Judgment, and in the sign of Capricorn, the Devil. So first, let's talk a little bit about Moon in Gemini. A moon is very much our internal landscape, and it is our subconscious beliefs, patterns, the way we feel, what comes up instinctually rather than totally logic-based thinking. Gemini is the fact finder, the energy of wanting to communicate, but also being able to see things from multiple perspectives and constantly having to make choices. So with this energy, especially a first quarter, which means that we're headed towards a full moon, we have the ability to reflect, basically, the ability to take some time and look at the intentions that we set at the new moon and how are we tending to them, how are we working with them, how are we making decisions around those intentions that we set at the last moon cycle. What we're going to be looking at is this energy flowing very easily between Mercury retrograde, the world, and the star. And what I like looking about it from this perspective is that Mercury retrograde isn't something to be feared in this, capacity. It is this beautiful cheetah, right? It's not this horrific, everything's going to crash kind of energy because it's going backwards. I consider Mercury retrograding is Mercury has gone forward and seen how things are over here, and then it decides it has to go back and talk with the other planets. And if you look at the card too, it's looking over at the Pluto energy right here. It's going back and has seen and learned the beginning tastes of Aquarian energy, of this star energy, right? It has began experiencing that. It's began experiencing these endings of cycles and beginnings of chapters in this Aquarian age or energy. And because it's gotten a taste of that, it knows this chapter isn't entirely done yet, and we have more that needs to be done to go forward. So we see instead our magician moving towards judgment, which is the energy of Pluto. Now the energy of Pluto is the great transformer, Judgment Day by this card. We have some doves kind of raising up out of the darkness, which almost, when you look at it, I'll show it in close-up again, but it almost looks like they're bat forms and then become more of a feathered, softer work of art or line work. But all of this is to say is that the magician is going towards Pluto to talk about what else needs to be deconstructed. Pluto is the transformer, which means things need to also come apart. Judgment Day is very much about the endings, clearing way for new beginnings. And it's in the sign of Capricorn, which is very much about what are the things that bind us, what do we no longer need, what is outdated, what is a chain around our feet that holds us back, what is something that brings pain and suffering that has been of our own design and that we can easily let go of, that it is our choice and within our power to be able to take those chains off should we want to, right? And so we need to then consider that it's very beneficial time right now to sort of reflect on what we've been doing, what choices we've been making, kind of considering about how things are going thus far. We've been on a journey we're always on a journey, to be honest, but in this year, we're about, halfway through February. Let's reflect. Let's look backwards. Let's think about what has happened thus far, the decisions that we're making, and what we need to then go back and continue to reconsider. Another way that I like to think of this is kind of like an equipment bag shakedown. When you have well, maybe that's not the best way to describe it. Okay, how about if you're packing for a vacation and you think that you need all of this stuff to bring with you on the vacation, and this kind of Mercury retrograding towards Pluto, I see it as having to look at everything that you've packed in that suitcase and deciding if you can shake down or pare down or minimize or let go of, release items from that bag that you could make your checked luggage be a carry-on bag. It's about getting down to the things that really serve you, that is not just extra baggage that you're not actually going to need on the vacation and never end up using and had to pay money to drag it with you to wherever you're going. So that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. Of course, if you look at your personal charts and check out the transits, you can do so for free on astro.com. You can then find out what house these planets are falling into, which can give you a better indication of potentially what area may be affecting you directly. But let's head back to our wheel. So the next thing that we have going on, aside from Mercury going to have a good discussion with Pluto and figure out what else they need to tear down in the demolition derby race of Capricorn, the next thing we're going to look at is the square, which you can see to the Sun in Pisces, which also Pisces, just happening, just moving into the sign. Welcome Pisces season. And Venus in Aquarius. So let's go and look at the cards for that. And I'll take away that glyph, bring up the next one. So we have the Sun in Pisces and Venus in Aquarius still, which it will soon be joining. So we have the Sun card represented by the Sun card. Glitch moment. We have Venus represented by the Empress. Aquarius representing the Moon. And I'm missing one. Hold on. I lied. I'm just kidding. That was my mistake. The Moon is actually Pisces. And the star is Aquarius. So what do we know? You'll hear this several times if you end up watching these videos a lot, but I call square energy to be our gym time, the time that we need to work out, the area of stress and resistance training so that we can get stronger and moving ahead. So, making choices in our life, our habitual, subconscious making choices, or making informed choices based on our intuition and inner guidance. It will have some issues with, interestingly enough, this contrast of the Sun and the Moon. And we have here, oh, hold on, my focus went away. All right, let's try this again. And it's probably not going to work. Oh, look at that. So we have the Sun radiating its brilliance, being firm, being in a new sign, being confident, being just the life-giving source of heat to us all. It also illuminates the Moon at night. It gives us these beautiful cycles of light that we can see in the sky. We have tension, therefore, between what we inherently know and what we intuitively know, because the Sun can sometimes outshine the moon. And it's really about making decisions and feeling confident because of the sun energy here in our dreams because of the moon energy here. What do we dream at night? What does our intuition tell us? What do we inherently feel is the right choice to go forward with, or are the right choices? I'm sure there's more than one. And really feeling personally empowered about it. There is a disconnect between our ability to trust ourselves, our high priestess energy, and the choices that we are making. There are difficulties in needing to build basically our personal validation base in our self-belief, I think. The other thing that we have going on is, wow, big error. Let me go back to the other thing, is the Empress and the star, so Venus and Aquarian energy. The other challenge is about not only believing in our dreams and having confidence to go forward with them, but also how are we going to present our morals, ethics, and values that go with those dreams? How are we going to aesthetically represent that as well? And having trust that this is the path that we should be walking, the path that we should be choosing. Again, the we here is on one hand the collective because of the star Aquarian energy is about many people, but also all of this information can relate simply to our own personal life paths. The other thing that's very important to understand about Aquarian and star energy is that Aquarian energy accepts everyone in their individual uniqueness. So it's not about all of us conforming to the exact same thing. It's not about all of us having to be one way. It's about all of us supporting one another regardless of our differences and celebrating that people are unique and interesting, curious individuals in a collective. So there's room to grow in needing to consider the choices that we want to make around our values for our dreams and how we are being confident. We need to build our validation base and our personal power so that we have more confidence in that, but also needing to clarify these aspects, needing to clarify these things for ourselves. So if you can answer these own questions, what is it that I dream of a reality for myself? Do I feel confident that I'm living and making choices to live in that reality? That reality comes with what types of morals, values, and ethics. And can I be my own unique individual in a sea of collective and hold that space? So let's go now back to the wheel, which we are now going to look at the quintile. Now, quintiles are considered minor aspects, and they're not always really looked at or important, but I like quintiles personally because I find they have a lot of creative power that we can consider to utilize in our rituals or reflections or journal prompts or whatever you're using this for, basically. So let's go back to our glyphs, change it up. We have a Neptune, which is represented by the Hanged Man, and the Moon for Pisces. And I love this. This is very much about creative chaos. There's tension, but tension there for us to find a better way, a way around that is innovative and unique, and also part of the pleasure of being able to do this work or to figure it out is quite pleasurable. So one of the things, though, is about several things that I'm getting with this. Let's dive into it. So with the Hanged Man, whoa, we're having a malfunction. Just one sec, I'll go fix that. you'll not even notice. And with the magic of technology, booyah. All right, so a couple of things with the Hanged Man energy here, this lovely bat, is that Neptune is very much about our dreaminess, our etherealness, our kind of ability to dissolve identity, to amalgamate with anything and everything, to be water, because water forms to every vessel, to whatever space. But as a tarot card, we have the bat or the Hanged Man energy, and I get very much that there is having to find creative ways to use time and length of time and progress. So on one hand, we think, oh, we want everything now, but the Hanged Man says things will take time, and you need to make sure that you're not overgiving or self-sacrificing yourself. You need to very much be considering what is a mutual give and take, where is rest, where is action, and that you are capable of putting in work over time, because at a certain point there will be a call to action, a call for you to fly out of the cave, a call for you to have taken some time prepping yourself alone in your cave, and then it's time for you, Batman, to go forth and save the world. That's so cheese, but that's where I'm going with this. So, and then we also have that moon energy, and again, it's about nighttime. I think the other thing we can say about the Hanged Man is needing to take the time, again, to do self-reflection, to figure out creatively that dream, that vision, that passion, and the choices that you can make. It needs to be fun. It needs to be something that you want to engage in. Another way that we could say this is, instead of feeling like something is a chore, how can you be curious about it and want to explore it and learn everything about it? How can you look at it and go, ooh, I wonder, would this work, or should I tweak here, and how does this affect that? And the more you do that, the more you learn, the more you open up pathways, the more you're training yourself to grow and expand. And it's not feeling like, absolute chaos, everything is crumbling around me. It's having a curiosity that brings you forward with the ability to improve yourself and to manifest realities, all the types of words you want to use, however you want to say that, really. So it is very much here about needing to sit with yourself, take time to ask questions, take time to reflect, clarify those dreams, clarify your morals, your values, your ethics, clarify for yourself how to make it fun and engaging and not like pulling teeth of an experience, okay? Let's head back to our chart for the last thing that we're going to consider, which is Chiron. Now, I don't have a tarot card that represents Chiron, so we're only going to look at the Aries energy, but Chiron is an actual planetary body. It's not mathematical, so it's just not something that is reflected in tarot cards. But we'll talk a little bit about what Chiron is. And Chiron, I'm sure you've heard, is a wounded healer, right? Chiron is, I believe, a centaur. Please let me know if I'm wrong. There's a whole mythos around him. I'm pretty sure about kind of being rejected by his original family, adopted by another family, growing up, becoming this great medicine man, healer type person, and then getting wounded, but also has mortality, and so suffers with this wounding, keeps happening or festering or never able to heal, so he's never able to die and end the pain, but he's also immortal and doesn't die from the wound, so it's a catch-22 scenario. And one of the metaphorical lessons that we have with Chiron is that kind of antidote, and antidotes come from the poison, right? So you need venom to create an anti-venom. So when we look to Chiron, our thing that we really need to look for is, where are we hurt? Because once we can understand what the poison is, or the hurt, or the pain, then we can create the anti-pain, the antidote to this wounding. So we need to be aware with it, right? What comes up is a sextile, which means it gives opportunity, it gives possibility, it gives not guaranteed success, not absolute ease flow, but the fact that there is openings, there are currents here for you to explore. I kind of think Emperor energy with Aries has to do with rage, has to do with impulsivity, has to do with inability to sit still. It also has kind of undertones of patriarchal, or how systems are already established as well. You can see that one way or the other. This doesn't have to go into that terms of politics. Outside of that, the Emperor is also about like the kingdom that has been built. So that can be for yourself or for society. The Emperor is this beautiful tree with an eclipse going on here. So there's been a lot of rooting and a lot of time for this to grow into such a large, large tree. So it's painful. It's painful to think about having to maybe cut down the tree. I'm not saying that the tree needs to be cut down. I'm just saying it's a consideration. Or finding a different way of working with the tree. Or if we're not talking about the tree and we're talking about the actual role of an emperor as a ruler over a kingdom and people, how can that be different? How can our systems of governance change? And how can we find opportunity to change our own personal systems of governance of ourselves? All again based around this concept of what reality do we want to bring into this world. Because I think the big thing that most of us struggle with is that we exist in this world, right, that we live in, and we think there is no other world, like this is it. But I remember this beautiful kind of quote, and I'm going to butcher it, of course, but it basically says a person who, like Benjamin Franklin, who created electricity, did not live in a time of electricity, right? So, and there are many other examples. So we are not living in the time of what the future can be, is basically what it gets to. And the thing is that we don't remember that we can dream a future. It's not about like, how do I have to think about it in terms of what reality is now? The concept is to, what is the dream, and then how do I take my first steps to go towards that? So again, this is going to be a big prompting kind of experience when you're doing your work, whether it's ritual journaling, prompting, reflection, etc. It's very much about clarify your vision, clarify the dream, vision, whatever, your morals, ethics, values around that, the choices you are making in your daily life, and are they based on something that you feel confident with? Do you trust your inner knowing, or are decisions being influenced by external factors, external environments, external opinions, etc., etc., etc.? It can also come from within yourself too, like little voices, but those can be supplanted by society, conditioning, etc. So really, when we get down to it, the High Priestess, always trust yourself. You got to learn to trust yourself, to trust your gut, to trust whatever it is that guides you. If it's going to be having visions, if it's auditory, if it's sensory, if it's gut, if it's, synchronicity, if it's ease of flow. Is that Wu Wei? I forget how to say that, but anyway, there are lots of different ways that we all work with intuition, and it is an innate and natural thing for us all to have. So definitely ask yourself all these questions that I put forward, and then really try to keep track of your intuition and it leading to things. You need to build a personal power base of trusting in yourself. And if you already trust in your intuition and your guidance, etc., great. Keep on going. And for those who need to work on it, by paying attention to your intuition, maybe writing it down, keeping track of validations when things come up, you'll start to build that self-confidence, that self-empowerment, and that self-trust. So that's a lot of words. We're going to head on out now, and thank you so much for being a part of this Astrological Lunar Magic series. You know where you can check me out on the web. You know what to do with all the social medias. I'm also over on Instagram at the same name, Imagination Witch. So check me out all over the place. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you want to know. Let's have discussions. Love y'all, and until next time.